Welcome to the Birth Your Book podcast. We are on season 2, episode 3, and we are talking to Luke Lintott, who has written Wellness Unfucked. Welcome, Luke. Anything you want to say to introduce yourself?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me on your podcast, June. I know that we knew each other back in Costa Rica. When I was 19, we studied abroad together, and that's where my wellness journey truly began. I came back to the United States and was like, holy shit, like I need to change my life and really get into this lifestyle thing since the average person in Costa Rica at the time lived for 4 years more than the average American, even though they made about a quarter of our income. That
Yeah.
really does tie into my story of coming back to the United States, boomeranging back to my bad habits, and then really finding a true happy medium. And that's what I talk more about in my book. So thank you so much for having me on your podcast. I'm a lifestyle consultant. I am based in San Diego, and I coach executives to get fit and loved while making money and direct corporate wellness programs that work. I do what I love and love what I do. And yeah,
Wonderful.
thank you so much.
Yeah, I love it. Yes, yes. It's so great. I love how this is just full circle. And I'll explain a little bit what I do for folks who are listening as well. This is actually the first podcast that I've done with someone who hasn't done the Birth Your Book program. So that's exciting. I am a coach and editor of folks who are writing their books. So my hope is that people listening will one, be inspired by your story and inspired to jump into their own journey of wellness, and two, be inspired by your process and, potentially write their own books and, or their own stories and tell their own stories in some way, right? I really believe that everybody has some kind of creativity, some kind of art in them, even if it's not writing. So I'm glad that you're here with us. I'm curious, Luke, what would you say is like the biggest thing you hope readers gain from your book?
Ooh, I
If
think now
someone were to pick your book off the shelf, like what question is it answering for them?
I desire that anyone that reads this book feels motivated, really inspired to take action, to live your dream rather than just talk about it, and to also take care of your most valuable possession, your body, your mind, your spirit, and direct your life
Mm,
in the direction that you desire to go. We are in the most distracted time in human history, June, where we get
yeah,
74 gigabytes of information per day, which is more than the average American or average human got in 500 years ago in their whole lifetime. And
absolutely.
so now more than ever, doing wellness, it's not just a luxury that a few people should be doing. It's something that everyone needs to do in order to be in this moment, be productive, be happy, be healthy. And we both know, June, as mental health professionals, that we are seeing a steady, unfortunate increase in mental health challenges, in suicidality. The list goes on, especially amongst children, right? Before I became
Mm,
an entrepreneur and began doing all this great work in wellness and beyond, I worked in the schools. I did
yeah,
yoga with my fourth graders. I did counseling, and we are noticing this in children. And so, what better way to create hope, to create positivity and light than share this book, share my purpose with you all? And I
nice.
started my journey, ironically, June, through reading books, through connecting with new people. And then I've grown into
Mm,
like the coaching sphere and the therapy sphere and all that great stuff. I went on to get my own master's, become a yoga teacher, and do these things. And I think that's really what I hope. I know that sounds, I'm a very long-winded person, so it's
I love
multifaceted,
it.
but it's just
That's
something that
great.
I just am really excited to share to people. And really, if through the shit I went through wanting to end my life, dropping out of medical school, losing a relationship,
Yeah,
questioning my sexuality, if I can go from wanting to jump off a cliff to really truly living my purpose, helping others, feeling so good every day, getting great sleep, feeling comfortable in my own skin, the list goes on. I really desire to serve as a hope and a light to other people. And it's something that I've
yeah,
lived and I've studied, right? It's the two, right? And I think it's magic when you have both of those together. That's part of what I talk more
absolutely.
deeper about in really purposeful living, stepping into what you're meant to do
Absolutely.
on this planet because we're just here for a limited time.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think it's so interesting that our journeys have paralleled in some ways. I'm also a yoga instructor and use that in the writing program. So I'm so curious, just how those things factor into your programs also. Um, what would you say? I mean, I read through the book a little bit. I'm just getting started, so I'm excited to continue it. And I read a little bit about your core framework. Can you describe that a little bit more?
Yeah, so I created something called the Core Framework for Life Fulfillment, and it starts with you collecting clues on your wellness ascension, like where are you at, and then opting into transformative living, revitalizing your entire being, so your body, mind, spirit, and your life. Something that we sometimes don't talk about too much in wellness, but we know that as yoga teachers that what we do bleeds into our life, right? I came out to my mother after I took a yoga class, right? There's been a lot of reprogramming that has happened on my
Mm,
mat and through the hypnosis and through the breath work and through the fitness, right? It all comes together. I'm on to holistic change. Last but not least, not to sidetrack,
yeah.
E is for enjoying your process of self rediscovery, right? And I know for
Hmm.
me, it's been about actually coming back into connection with my inner child. I was a childhood actor. I talk a little bit about this in my book. And
This,
when
I
I
didn't know
I
about the medical school either. This is
I went to
amazing.
medical
Yeah.
school. I know we haven't really
Yeah.
talked since I was 19, so it's been like 16 years.
Yeah.
But the great thing is that I've really faced and created wisdom from the traumas, the challenges I experienced, yes, as a child who was an actor, who was harshly criticized by some of the mentors, right, that I was working with, and I really internalized that as a very highly sensitive person, and that sabotaged me from doing things like writing my book, from things like running my business, even
Mm,
to an extent becoming a yoga teacher, right? And so it's really about when you are able to actually take away the emotional charge of a challenging experience, that then becomes wisdom. And that's what I talk more about
mm,
in the book is really changing those memories into simply memories as something that keeps you locked into not taking
yeah.
action, to not living your truth, being who you are meant to be on this planet. And so that's really what the core framework for life fulfillment is. And so as you'll see in the 20 chapters that make up this book, there are different sections that cover each of those four parts
Mm,
of your life fulfillment and living
hmm.
purposefully because people that live purposefully have longer and healthier lives, and
Yeah.
those that have a positive mindset have better health outcomes. So the body's in the mind. So the book really goes deeper into
Yeah.
wellness being inside out and customized to you, being very holistic, like we were talking about. So it's really
Yeah.
exciting to read, and I don't think I've seen anything out there that's quite like it. And
Yeah.
of course, just check it out. It's really for those people that want deep transformational lifetime change. And I really do desire that this book has ripple effects in our world, right? And creating a more harmonious and peaceful world. Since I think a lot of the things that we are facing right now in our society, this polarity going on, has to do with sometimes people disconnecting from ourselves, in a sense, disconnecting from each other.
Yeah, that was really powerful. You talk about growing up in a conservative small town. It sounds like there was a lot of disconnection going on. And then now you're talking about what I really loved in the book and from what I've seen in the work that you do is how you teach others to treat you. So you treat yourself well, and then we're teaching others to treat us well as well. I'm curious if you can speak to that uh, in the book or as you've worked with clients, have you noticed changes in that as people start to really go onto their own wellness journey and work through a wellness contract? I just read some of the that pieces around it.
Yeah, the way I think about it, June, is that the world is your mirror. And when you are taking care of yourself, you're able to better take care of others.
Hmm.
And I know in my own experience, especially being a helper on the Enneagram, I used to sacrifice my well-being for the community. And that made it so that I couldn't better serve the community, right? I wasn't making as good of decisions, getting enough
Right?
sleep.
Yeah,
And like I talk more in the
absolutely.
book, I even turned to bad coping mechanisms, heavy drinking, negative self-talk, and the list
Yeah.
goes on. And this manifested in my body, right? My digestion and in my negative mindset, right? And really, since I've shifted that, and I talk in the last section of the book in manifestation, in actually being that person who already has all those things that I desire, like really making those changes, even and especially when it is uncomfortable, showing up to a yoga class all alone with no one by my side,
Ah,
starting to lower my drinking and making these changes that someone that already has those things like the self-love, the health, what have you is doing. That's really what I go deeper into in the book. And so really, I just want to invite you to take those steps. And maybe your first step, and I did include the link in the bio, is simply reading this book. Maybe your first step is connecting
Absolutely.
with us. I know, June, and it is not a one size fits all. And I think sometimes we used to see in the past with wellness, it was kind of like seeing that, okay, in 5 days you're gonna lose 5 pounds. I literally saw that posted like the other day, and it's so much
Hmm.
more than that. It's
Oh
like
yeah.
really deep, and like we also need to ask ourselves, for the people that have those transformational changes in a couple of days, oftentimes the studies show that 10 days later or 20 days later, sometimes they boomerang back. This book is really
Yeah.
so much different because it's about changing your entire lifestyle to
Yeah.
magnetize your desires. And we use the power of hypnosis as well for
Yeah,
you to
this is
access
so
through the book.
inspiring. Yeah, so inspiring to me personally, Luke, also, because I've definitely been so funny. This coincides with my own personal wellness journey. So those lifestyle things, I really resonated with what you said around conventional health in the book, and it just doesn't support us to do what we need to do in our lifestyles and what you just said about it as well. I want to pause for a second and see if anybody has questions for us.
Absolutely. Everyone, post your questions and comments in the live, which we're doing now on Facebook. And of course, afterwards, feel free to post them as well. We don't have any questions as of right now, but go ahead and like let us know. I see we have Jonathan is here. We have 3 people watching. So yeah, thanks to everyone watching the live and replay.
Awesome. Hello, everybody. The other thing I want to ask you about, Luke, I'm so curious, what was your process like in writing this book? So, like, how did you decide that you wanted to write a book? What popped, how did that come about? What popped up for you?
Yeah, so if I go way back, June, to 2019, when I went on my first self-love retreat, I actually manifested this. This is actually something I wrote down that I wanted to write. I desired to write a best-selling book. Crazy thing is,
Mm.
5 minutes ago, it became #1 on Amazon. I just texted you
Yes,
about
it's
that.
so
Okay,
exciting.
so it happened. Now, in 2019, I'd made some of those pivots, right? I'd become a yoga teacher in 2017. I invested in myself and went on this wonderful retreat in Mexico. And during that time, we volunteered at an orphanage. I connected with such great high vibe people. And I decided to go for my dreams. 2 weeks after I got back, I founded lukeyoga.com. This is before COVID hit, right?
Mm.
And I was doing in-person yoga in people's homes, in addition to, doing my counseling work in the schools and all
Right
that
when
great
I was
stuff.
doing some of the stuff too, it's blowing my mind. So funny.
Yeah, crazy. It's
Yeah.
all in alignment. Yeah, it's so good to catch up and hear about that. But like then COVID hit and everything shut down, right? I was furloughed by my yoga studio and I transitioned 90% of what I do to the internet. And then I did see some people in person that were okay with that.
Yeah.
Now, that's
Good
when I really
timing.
started to get really deep into even more of the inner work, like more of the I started doing the meditations, I started doing the hypnosis, I started doing podcast interviews with people all over the world.
Mm.
Now I have people in my own coaching program that I'm friends with that I've never met in real life. Some of them have come and visited me that are in Europe, that are all over the world, that are doing similar work in
Mm.
wellness online. And so, anyways, long story short, I ended up deciding to finally, because I was thinking about it for years. I wrote it down. I have all these things that I desire to share. Now, I needed to do the inner work before I would be comfortable really sharing those vulnerable details about my life right here on this podcast and in the book. Number two, I really needed that time to like formulate how to make this digestible for people as opposed to just a 15-second or 8-second reel, right? The average person watches reels for just single digits, right? And so as you know, I'm a very long-winded person, and I did this wonderful podcast with Reese Witherspoon. She's also too spirited. She lives in Canada,
Wow.
and after we stopped recording the little podcast interview, she was like, Luke, you need to write this book because what about, not to be sad and dark, but what about the time that you're not in your body, you're gone? Don't you want to have something that people can look at and refer to? And that's when I realized, like, come on, Luke, it's time to
Yeah.
write this book. And as you all know, I'm very active on social media, and I have spent 4 hours making one reel. And I was just reflecting about writing
Mm.
this book. It was beautiful, and I feel like, yes, a reel is impactful. This is also something where I can go so much deeper than a 5-minute live or a 15-second reel. And so I realizing that when that hit me, when Reese said that, I realized I need to do this shit. And so January of this year, now
Hmm.
that's 10 months ago, every single day for 15 minutes minimum, I started writing my book. It was my priority and I wrote it down. It's on my manifestation calendar, which is now on my phone, which I talk about in my book, like really writing things down.
Amazing.
And
Hmm.
then so I wrote it, I finalized it, and I edited it, I changed it. I went through a lot of different phases on deciding what the content of the book was, but I decided
Yeah.
for this first of many books that I'm writing that I desire, of course, to share my story and to give you a practical guide that you actually interact with that pairs with a course. So I have an online course that I
Absolutely.
also added to it. So that was the process. Now I didn't do this alone, so I have my own coach who is also an author. So just
Hmm.
like people that work with you, June, I have someone who has been through the process that could
Hmm.
answer a lot of those questions and also
Yeah.
cheer me on. My coach actually noticed my book was number one before I did. And I just wanted
Cool.
to say, right now in this world, it's so important to have like you and me living, breathing people that truly care about one another. And
Yes.
so I think that that really made it me help me believe in myself. And in addition, I practice what I preach, like doing the hypnoses has really helped me really change my energy and believe in myself even
Hmm.
before I see these three-dimensional manifestations. So it's been a combination of actually sitting down every
Yeah.
single day and doing the work and doing the mindset work, the body work, because I decided after everything in my world came crashing down in about 2016 when I moved to San Diego, I was like, I'm not going to sacrifice my health and happiness for blank. It's just not worth
Hmm.
it. So I really found a way to like juggle it, if you will. And even to give you an example, last night or 2 nights ago, I wasn't feeling the best. So I went all by myself to a live concert with Tinashe. She was performing here in San Diego.
Hmm.
So I'm all about keeping that energy high because it all starts with your emotions. When you feel really good, that's when you can manifest these great things because like attracts like, right? And so,
Hmm.
so that makes sense. And then, of course, shout out to my editor, Chrissy. Shout out
Hmm.
to the Bonjour who helped make this cover. Like it was a team, right? My whole
Yeah,
world global team that
absolutely.
I've been using to help
Huge
with everything.
collaboration.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's so great. That's so exciting. I I'm like really enthralled in what you're saying, and I'm like, wait, back up. You were meeting with Reese Witherspoon?
Oh, Reese. Okay, Reese, excuse me. I am confusing last names. I'd have to look up Reese's last name. It was not Reese Witherspoon. I was probably a future manifestation coming up, but it was yeah, someone who and I'll tag her below who really had a great impact on me. I'm gonna look her up right now. But yeah.
I gotcha. I was like, oh, wait a
That's so
second.
funny I said that. Reese Sabatini Blake.
Ah,
Check her
okay.
out. Do go follow her. We have a lot in common. She's also First Nations, and I'm Native American, and we have that in common. We're also
Mhm.
two-spirited, so we really, we're able to see things through a multiplicity of perspectives. So,
Yeah,
yeah,
I love that. That is so exciting. Was how long do you think it took you to write the book from start to finish?
yeah. It took me about 9 months. I did make some final edits about 7 days ago. So, but
Okay.
that's why we're doing the Kindle version first. So I began the book in the beginning of this year. So now we're in
Mhm.
October. So that works out to about 9.5 months.
Yeah.
So
Did you
yeah.
ever have a point in the book in writing the book, where you just felt like throwing in the towel? Like,
Hell yeah.
yeah,
So I had very many times where I wanted to I broke down. I was like, this is too much. Oh my God, what are people gonna think about me? Right? Like, friends are reading this, families reading this, I'm reading this. And I think that
yeah.
so for me, it's been about like sharing those challenging things of my past and being really
Hmm.
raw and real. Like this is my story. So being comfortable with sharing that was, I think, the biggest hurdle for me. Number two, imposter syndrome being like kind of thinking like, who am I to write this book? But then I think like having mentors, having
Yeah.
people that have already done it has helped me. And also giving myself space, June. So like the times that I had writer's block, for me, it meant that I needed to actively step away from the process so that I could come
Yeah.
back better. So for me, at a certain point in my writing journey, June, that meant leaving this cell phone at home and for 60
Hmm.
minutes plus having a great time in real life.
Hmm.
For me, that also meant writing my book at coffee shops. That's why
Yeah.
I did my one of my lives this week at Lestat's here in Hillcrest, San Diego. So for people that are struggling, sometimes you need to change an environment because sitting in that bedroom, which is also where you work, sometimes for me can cloud things.
Absolutely.
And I also want to add to I can't show you from my laptop, but I have a candle playing on right now. A good sense I
Mhm.
have my crystals are out. I have some flowers, like so. Just those little things like
Yeah.
really do make the world of difference. They're a necessity, not a luxury. So environment does matter. And
Absolutely.
yeah, and I think working with a
Yeah.
coach, June. So if people are thinking
Yeah.
about it, do contact June.
Yeah.
Go
It's
someone like to help you.
Yeah, it's so interesting. The number one thing that people say that stops them from writing their books when I talk with people is fear. And a lot of it is fear of vulnerability, fear of, what are people going to think? Who am I to write this? And it's so funny because when people first start talking to me, they think it's time. They don't have enough time to write the book. And it's actually
Hmm.
not time. It's like you have to go way beneath that. And that's actually one of the reasons that I incorporate yoga into my programs. So, I mean, I think that is something unique about the Birth Your Book program. If you're, already doing yoga with Luke, it might be something that you're interested in to incorporate into the writing process because we actually move through the chakras uh, in the writing program. And so we do a lot of like structural stuff when we're in the root chakra, like structural stuff with the, building the book and what that looks like and, different kinds of like editing up in the third eye, all of those kinds of things. But yeah, I think it's incredible that you wrote this and that you really got the support that you wanted to get. And it's already inspiring people. Just reading it was inspiring me. I mean, I was reading through it around, your journey being on that cliff and deciding not to jump. And I'm giving it away a little bit, but I'll pull it back. But I mean, I went through something similar and, at probably around the same time. And um, I think it's so important to shed light on those experiences because they're so common. And when you're going through it, you don't think that anybody else is going through it or could understand what you're going through. So I think it's amazing that you've written this book. Um, and I want to make sure that I'll put all of the info in the blurb for the podcast, but I want to make sure, again, that people have a way to access the book so that they go to your website to purchase it or Amazon or all of the above.
All of the above, I think the best way to stay connected is go to lukelintott.com. So that's just my full name. And that'll send you straight to the link on Amazon for Wellness Unfucked, Rewrite Your Story, Reclaim Your Life. And right now, I'm offering this entire book and the course website for just 99 cents for a limited time. We're just doing a new release special. So do go and take advantage of that opportunity. I will be offering the paperback most likely sometime November of this year. I'm just getting all the things finalized with that Kindle. But yeah, I'm so happy to hear that you got inspired from the book, June. And I desire that this book goes viral, right? And that we really are able to get this book to even more people that truly need it. And I want you to know that if you are in a dark place, as it sounds like both of us have been in, things do get better and you
Yes.
are not alone. And now that I look back, June, on everything that I've gone through, I am so happy that I've gone through a lot of hard times because it's helped me be ready and prepared for all of the great
Yeah.
times, the success, the health, the happiness. And the crazy thing is, if you consciously manifest what you desire and you do all the work like you're talking about, you do the yoga, you're doing the mindset work, the hypnosis, what have you, when you manifest love, you manifest success, quote unquote, whatever that is, money, health, happiness, you're less likely to have anxiety and depression once you get it. If you unconsciously manifest it, you're just born
Hmm.
into it. Those people tend to have that. So it's like it's all that for both those people, it's important to do that work. So I'm so happy to hear your program has that.
Yeah, that's
That's
so
amazing.
interesting. Yeah.
So So yeah, that's
Yeah.
wonderful.
Yeah, Luke, I'm just looking at you, I have to say, and remembering 19-year-old you and just listening to you right now and understanding everything that you, like you said, that you've gone through, everything that you've learned, and just who you are, like how you hold yourself right now as we're talking. I am so inspired by you. I'm really inspired by who you are for yourself and for other people. And I'm so thankful that you're here and you are sharing this message. And yeah, yeah, I'm almost speechless. I'm like, it's really, really incredible that you really just put yourself out there. And I know that was not you at 19. But I
Oh,
mean, this is this is amazing, and I have a lot of writers, I'll say, who do kind of hide and hang back, and so I this is just really inspiring. To just, some people write a book and then they hide. And it's like, you wrote the book, put it out there. I mean, the fact that you had the launch party and that you've been contacting people and like really working to have this be really visible, it's amazing.
thank you kindly. I so appreciate that. And I think that I agree with Oprah Winfrey. The bravest thing that you can do is be you. And
Yeah.
imagine the impact that you can have when you share your story and your
Yeah.
gifts with the world. Maybe it is writing a book, maybe it's something else, right? And I go deeper into that in my book. When I was set up to be a doctor, June, and be prescribing medications and doing all those great things
Yeah.
doctors do, I would have been miserable, right? I would have probably have more of those chronic diseases, anxiety, insomnia, the list goes on.
Sure.
Now, so it's
Absolutely.
all about finding out what you're meant to do. And I just want to invite people out there, no matter what age or season you're at, take giving yourself space to decide. We're in this like go 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 society, and
Sure.
know that you can always change your mind. And thank you. I do receive like those words that you said because yes, when I was 19, I didn't really know who I was and I wasn't as comfortable to be who I am now, right? I feel like it's
Yeah.
like I said, it's been a process of unlayering and getting back in contact with who I truly am. When I recently went to Costa Rica for the first time since I lived there, I was there in February. I realized
Mhm.
I'm a whole new person. Like this is crazy
Yeah.
coming back and seeing everything clearly. But once again, like I'm so incredibly grateful for these experiences, the positives and the challenges that have brought me to where I am today because once again like yes you can get your PhD and study things but living it is a completely different story and so I'm glad I've had these experiences
Absolutely.
and just want to inspire
Yeah.
more people out there to go out there and like yeah, like you said, be vulnerable, share your story, be visible. And and I think that yeah, you're right. Like fear is a really big thing. They can stop people, I'm sure, from writing a book and sometimes even stop people from really prioritizing your health and
Yeah.
your happiness. And so I just want you to know that like you're worthy of both of those things and so
Yeah.
much more. So
Absolutely. I love it. Thank you. Thank you, Luke. Is there anything else you want to share before we wrap up with folks who are listening?
I just want to thank you, June, for having me on the Birth Your Book podcast. And to
Yeah.
everyone now and in the future, I would love to authentically connect with you. Maybe it is on social media, maybe it's at one of my retreats, maybe it's in a 30-minute, I do 30-minute one-on-one sessions with folks, wellness prescription sessions. Maybe it's something else. So do contact me and of course you can check out my website like I mentioned and it'll be hopefully in the description, lukelintott.com. Do connect with me on Instagram, limitless_Luke. And we have a great Facebook community, which I think June and I are both a part of, Mindfully
Yep.
Sculpted.
Yep.
So those are the best way to contact me. And then do check out this book. Like I said, it is 99 cents, y'all. It is #1 on Amazon in physiological aspects of psychology, which I'm still like in shock about. I was
Yeah.
telling June, I just found out about that a couple minutes ago. So I'm so stoked.
Yeah.
So thank you. This is dedicated to you all and to everyone in the future. I would love to connect with you. And I just hope that you have a fabulous day and you are loved and you are worthy of your health and happiness. And to my people too, connect with June.
Yeah.
Yeah.
If anyone is interested in talking with me about programs, volasessions.com. So VOA sessions.com is where all the information is. So I will we'll see you next time for the next Birth Your Book podcast.
And I do have some comments. Do you want me to read them?
Oh yeah, go for it.
Okay. Thank you. And yeah, definitely. And we maybe we'll cut this out of your podcast, we can include it or not. But Jonathan wrote, what part of your book was one of your favorite parts to write and express as your experience to help others? And I just want to add, I think, Jonathan, that my favorite part was the section on relationships. I am queer identified. I have dated every single gender out there, so I don't really see that many books that talk about it. Number two, I also give some really good hacks for address like identifying narcissism and also identifying unhealthy relationships and identifying positive relationships. So I think that was like really powerful because I was like, I'm not seeing this anywhere, and giving you
Mm,
like really some ideas to spruce up your dating profile and your connection profile since 90% of new relationships now are made online. Jonathan and I actually met on
oh.
Instagram, by the way. I wanted to point that out.
Oh
So,
wow. How
um,
interesting.
do you want me to read the other ones too?
Go for it. Go for it. Yeah.
What advice would you give a young person who is struggling with their identity as they work with at-risk LGBT youth as a queer mental health professional? So, if you're a young person now, and I would say any person who's struggling with your identity, I would say my biggest advice is to, and we're in this online amazing world where you can connect with anyone anywhere, follow people that you do identify with that really affirm who you are, and you can really do that anywhere. Now, if you're in real life, like you're in San Francisco, which I believe June grew up in San Francisco, right? It's
Yep.
like
Yeah.
go connect with people in person that
Oh
affirm
yeah,
who you are.
absolutely.
You know? Okay. And anywhere, but so I think connect with me, connect with really high vibe people. And the other thing is to handle and disconnect from those energy sources. Sometimes there are people that do not affirm who you are, right? And so when you're a
Mm,
child, when we and I know this, I used to work in the schools, when you are in high school and middle school and even younger, right? You cannot control those things. And so it's just about finding other ways to handle that relationship. Maybe it means not coming out. Maybe it
mm,
means coming out to just one of your best friends. I have friends to this day who are not able to come out because cultural reasons and beyond, right? So, so I'd say like that's a big thing is like find ways to handle and disconnect from those challenging relationships because if you stay, and I talk more about in
mm,
my book, about this in my book, if you stay connected to people that do not love and radically accept you, and it is an unhealthy relationship, you will typically roller coaster. So
mm.
if you try, because it will not be good for your mental health, okay? And anything else, drop some comments. Thanks for the congratulations, Jen, as well, and everyone else. And of course, I want to say if you have any more questions, drop them in the comments even after this live launch party is done. And I'm sure June and I can both respond to these
Yeah.
comments, right? And I wanted to also, June, if you have any, I want to give you the opportunity to respond to any of those questions or anything that's coming up for you because you are also a mental health professional and anything else coming up for you? Do you want to share?
Yeah, I don't know that I would call myself a mental health professional, so I will say that.
Okay,
I
no.
used to work in the mental health field,
Mm-hmm.
um, but I did not get my license. I actually moved into the writing realm of things. And I'm thankful that you think of me that way. In terms of answering that question, those questions, gosh, I'm trying to remember the questions because I was so caught up in what you were saying. Um, in struggling with your identity. Hmm. Um, give yourself grace is the biggest thing that's coming up. Give yourself grace. It's so easy to hear the negative self-talk. Um, I mean, it's not always easy to hear, but it's so easy to give ourselves the negative self-talk and to just kind of slow down. So I know for me, like my yoga journey specifically was slowing down, listening to how I was talking to myself, and then breathing through that. So if you're able to slow down and like Luke said, connect, that's I think the key with any any stuff that's coming up with identity. Yeah.
Fabulous.
Thank
Thank you
you.
so much.
Yeah, thank you, Luke. This is wonderful. I'll be posting some info about accessing your book in the blurb on the podcast, and we will see everyone soon.
Thank you all so much. Have a wonderful day. Let's connect. And thank you all to have showed up to our virtual and live launch parties. And thank you for supporting the Wellness Unfucked movement. Have a great day.
Yes. Bye.
Bye, everyone. Take care.